One thing I want people to realize is that you don't have to stick with managed services. They're great, but I just want people to not fear being able to work with models directly, because if you have you're going to be hearing a lot more about them. You go to your staples, you're going to see this everywhere. AI PC, right? And you can have like a decent AI PC that's just on your network. That's not necessarily used as a Windows station, but more just people use it as inference. But you could work it into your business, right? Like just not even online, but just in your office, because you could be making prompt documents and leveraging other things to improve just your workflow. You don't have to go use Microsoft Copilot or Google Workspaces, Gemini, and you're going to get a lot more flexibility and control. And that's something that I think that I'd like people to get out of it.
Welcome to the Cables to Clouds podcast, your one-stop shop for all things hybrid and multi-cloud networking. Now, here are your hosts, Tim, Chris, and Alex.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Cables to Clouds podcast. My name is Tim. I'm your host this week at Juan Golbez on Twitter. As always, with me is my co-host, Chris Miles at BGP Main on Twitter. We have a very special guest with us tonight, who is my cat, named Zelda in the background.
I'm out. I'm gone.
Oh, we also have Andrew Brown with us, rejoining the podcast. He is here to talk about something really cool that we've both been looking forward to, which is his upcoming Gen AI Bootcamp. It's been all over Twitter, but if you haven't had a chance to see it, well, you're going to get a chance to see it today. So I guess, Andrew, short introduction in case people missed your last episode, and then let's roll right into it, man.
Hey, everybody, I'm Andrew Brown, and I'm known as the Cloud Clown, bringing you, I don't know, all sorts of jokes and drama. But for those who don't know me, I'm a cloud educator. I create a variety of different cloud certification courses. I run boot camps, things like that. And all the stuff I usually do is for free. How do I make money? I don't know, but I keep opening the mail, and there is like wads of cash, and I don't ask any questions. But it's just how it works. But I recently just bought a church, an old church, and I'm turning it into a technology center. And if anybody has postcards, I'd love to receive some. I have an address somewhere. I was supposed to have like a title card so I could show it up here, but somewhere on my Twitter.
We'll get in the show notes. We'll get in the show notes for it. Yeah, for sure. What's funny is I went upstairs. So I went upstairs and looked through our stuff that we got at Ghibli Park last year, and we do actually have a good amount of postcards. And I grabbed one, and my wife was like, "What are you doing with that?" I was like, "Well, I'm gonna send it somewhere
as a postcard."
And she was like, "No, you're not."
So I'm just getting like a whatever kind of postcard. Chris came from Japan, and he's like, "Send you a postcard." I'm like, "Is it from Japan?" He's like, "You're gonna get a postcard."
I think the idea, Tim, is you're supposed to send it while you're there. So you've already missed the boat on that.
I definitely missed the boat on that one. I'm hoping to go back next year, and I will buy a new postcard so that my wife doesn't yell at me. And then,
you know what? She'll be like, too precious to throw out. Too precious to throw out. You don't send postcards to people.
Yeah, but we'll get that in the show notes, and then absolutely inundate this man with postcards. I want like a Miracle on 34th Street moment, where they're walking in with bags and just dumping them on the ground, just postcards.
All hate mail.
All right, no. This is good. The church thing is wild. I know this isn't necessarily the topic, but I just think this is wild. And you're turning the church, like you're doing something with that church. You can just buy it for no reason, right? What are you doing with it?
Oh yeah, so we're turning into a technology center. So we're going to do STEM training for local schools. We're going to retrain people in, we say, hard industries, people that work in like the mill or the mine or the railroad, into tech. And somehow we're going to do most of it for free. But I just, I don't know why I'm doing it, but I'm doing it.
That's a pretty cool endeavor, honestly. I think a lot of us wish we could give back to that level. So no, that's really cool, man. So let's talk a little bit about the Gen AI Bootcamp. Kind of where, if you don't mind me asking, just kind of where did you? Is it just because like, hey, Gen AI is a thing now, or did you actually have like a kind of a plan that you put together for this?
I mean, I always have a reason why I do things. Like the reason we did the AWS Cloud Project Bootcamp was that I had so many students that I had seen at like reInvent and other places that had gotten certified, didn't get jobs or roles, and they wanted to build a project. They wanted to know what to do, and I would give them ideas, but they couldn't get started, and I didn't realize there was such a gap there, and so what they really needed was somebody to take them through to a degree and then give them flexibility to discover on their own what they could do. But the reason I'm doing the Gen AI Bootcamp is totally for selfish reasons, totally different, which is just like I've been taking Japanese lessons and I keep building out little Gen AI learning assistants. And I want to just squeeze more time in there. And I'm like, how can I do that on company time? And so if I do a boot camp and it's still, and like Gen AI is hot, that I can go ahead and do that. But you know what? Language learning and works really well because like natural language processing, NLP. I got to use some initialisms here to sound super fancy, but it's just a powerhouse for LLMs. I don't know if it's novel, but it's a good use case, and I think that with everybody really interested, I'm not sure if people are interested, but they feel obligated to make sure they don't miss out on this in their tool, like learning about Gen AI in their tool belt, because we don't know if it's going to take people's jobs or not. It's not, but people are worried about it. So I think that it's just the most accessible thing to teach people right now.
Yeah, that's really good point. And the whole bootcamp thing is and we've said this before, right? Like the best way to learn something obviously is to do something. And you really like the use case thing is so important, right? Like just applying what you're learning and doing something with it is probably like the best way to learn something. So language learning is definitely the way. I think we're both learning Japanese, so you're building some really cool apps with it, and I'm asking ChatGPT dumb questions, so we're doing our part.
But but even with all like the stuff we can use it, I still need a real Japanese teacher to progress, right? So I think that a lot of people think that it's like 100% replacement, like it's coming for jobs, and I literally can't progress in Japanese. I'm sure there's some people that self-study, but like having a real human that knows the subject matter and can guide you through it is like super useful. But it just alleviates a lot of the busy work. It's like imagine having our teacher every day, having to do drills with me. That's not a good use of their time, right? So
right.
I think it kind of meets in the middle. It's not perfect, but it's definitely working for my needs anyway.
Yeah. So, quick question about that. So, since you're doing a Gen AI bootcamp, Gen AI seems like this kind of realm where there's a lot of people, doing the hard work that are considered experts, but even the experts are still learning on a day by day basis about kind of what this thing is and how to really grapple with it. So, my question for you is how did you go into preparing yourself for this Gen AI bootcamp, and how did the content kind of come out of that?
Sure. We'll talk about. Well, I'll break those into two parts. The latter being how did we prepare and learn for all this stuff, but the first one about Gen AI experts not being able to grasp stuff, because when you think of Gen AI is actually just a subsection of AI and machine learning, and so the experts that are in academia and know how to build machine learning models and stuff like that, to them they're just like, yeah, this is a thing and it's very novel. They know how to apply it, but a lot of people in the Gen AI space don't have, I shouldn't say they all, but a lot of them don't have that AI ML foundational background. Like they can't build models. Yeah, they're more like practitioners of like, oh, I have a model, I play with it. And for them, it's very hard for them to find a fit because they might not understand like how it fits into the landscape, right? Or they're utilizing Gen AI when it's very expensive and ineffective at specific ML tasks where traditional machine learning is more effective, or building a simple neural net or using something like XGBoost. So I think there's that kind of muddying going on. Today, I think it was AWS, and I use all the clouds. I just happen to be wearing this because it's warm. But today Matt Wood, who was the VP of AI over at AWS, is departed. He's been there for 15 years, which is really interesting. So in the internals, who were like, oh, does that mean that AWS is deprecating AI? Now all there is Gen AI, which I don't think that's the case. I think it's just coincidental, but Gen AI is definitely, is just a subset of very specific machine learning models, right? Or like put under that umbrella. But let's talk about how I prepped for getting up to speed. So I did already have some machine learning skills behind me. Before I even had this company, I had a couple startups, and I was doing machine learning pipelines. I didn't realize I was really doing machine learning. It was more like classical machine learning and things like that. But I already had some working skills at building more efficient machine learning pipelines on AWS and other tools like that. So I already had a bit of that foundation. But for this, it just felt like Web3, where there's like all these freaking new terms, and you dig, and you find out that the term was just like overblown as the description of what it was, right? It was
like a marketing term or something.
Well, I don't know, but it's like obscurifying the utility of it. Like RAG is a retrieval-augmented generation. Why do we have to call it that? All it is a no, I know what it is. It is it's just like a way of going retrieving data and bringing it back and putting it into the prompt before the agent or LLM replies. And so at anything that it goes to, if it goes to the internet, if it goes to a database or whatever, that's all it is, right? But like when you start reading about it, people don't describe it very clearly. And then it seems like it has to be with a vector store. What's a vector store? Do you know what I mean? And
yeah, no, that's the magic of it, right? And the only reason I know this part of it is because I've been extremely deep on it. Because this is what I'm doing my talk at reInvent on is RAG. But yeah, I mean, so the vector store part of it is literally just like a very fancy mathematical matching algorithm, right? Like the whole vector store thing where you take documents, plug them into vectors, turn them into math. And then when you build your prompt, you turn the prompt into a vector, and then you compare them and try to find the closest match for the docs you have, I guess, right?
I think so. Like I have my simple speech, and it's like what a vector store is it takes your chunks of your words or the words themselves, turns them into numbers, and puts them into like, think of like a plot graph, like dots on a graph. And if the words are similar, they're going to be near each other, right? But the part where it gets kind of more complicated is that how do you know, like, these two words are related or these four words are related? And that's where embeddings come into play, because the embedding is the algorithm, the way to describe that relationship. And so when you store them in a vector store, what's the relationship? Is it because the length of the word? Is it because they look similar, like similar letters and spelling? Is it because they're in the same topic? And then on top of that, you could an embedding could be optimizing on multiple things. So it could be like a combination of those things, and you have a bunch of numbers. So that's my simple explanation that I understand it. And somebody that knows vector stores would be like, I don't like you're missing out all this information, right?
It's all about the math for them, right? For the people that's what they do. But yeah, you're right about this. Gen AI just being almost like a natural language way to engage with AI ML, which is not new, right? Like so. And the embedding model thing is actually really, really well said, because people don't realize there's like lots of different kind of embedding models out there too, that'll based on sentences, based on topic, based on there's video ones and image ones and stuff, and it's all chunking that same. It's crazy actually how it all works.
Moon patterns, like whatever it is. And another thing and this is more like folks in academia that they always want me to say about Gen AI, which is, it's not all about the LLMs. There's multiple modalities. So, right, you have vision, you have audio, you have text, you have molecular, there's other ones there that I like. I'm sure there's other, like video, which is technically just images, moving images. And then when you look at those other ones besides LLMs, those are just like models that already existed before Gen AI, right? Like we already had vision models. It's just that when you put them under Gen AI, they get a bit more attention because the marketing helps it, right?
Is Gen AI, and this is the part I've never been able to quite figure out, because I agree that like ultimately it's really just an expression of AI ML. It's like a natural language expression. Is that the marketing, like the fact that you can use common language to engage with all this data? Like before it was just machine learning, it was just like pattern recognition and everything.
Gen AI just means that like it's generative. So like if you input something, it's going to generate something, because like when you think of machine learning, like general AI or machine learning, it's making a prediction, right? So you say, what's the weather going to, let's forecast the weather. What would it be 10 days from now based on the data that you have? And it'll spit out a number. Or it's like, tell me, based on this like classification, which like, if I give you this word of an animal, can you classify it and tell me, is it a mammal? Is it a reptile? And so that's the classical stuff. Now, the interesting thing is that LLMs can do these simpler types of classical machine learning tasks, but it's very expensive compared to, like, even if it's not that expensive, it's just like it's pennies. It's dirt cheap to learn classical machine learning and utilize it for those things. But with LLMs, you don't have to understand how a machine, like a machine learning pipeline works. You don't have to know how to build an ML model or work with XGBoost. And so it makes these other simpler ones more accessible at a higher cost. But once you understand the cost and stuff, you learn a little bit more, and you can utilize those other simpler models, which is what people need to do when they're learning Gen AI, is to go into those simpler models. Sorry.
Yeah, we were messing around with this a little bit, right? You and I were messing around with this idea of downloading a model to do your own training and stuff. Let's talk about a little bit more about the bootcamp. I don't know how much you're willing to share about the structure and whatnot at this point, but I'd love to understand kind of what your thinking is or planning is about, like, who's coming into it, who's the ideal student, and like where you want them to leave. Maybe they just start there and we can work our way through that.
I would like to teach all levels. And so I'm in the middle of developing the curriculum, and I might do multiple tracks. So like the thing is if you're learning about prompt engineering in the bootcamp 6 weeks, it'd be nice to, if people are at, let me step back one more. So I've built out a Gen AI roadmap, and it uses what I call a maturity model. The idea is that you talk about, where somebody is in the maturity of the knowledge that they have in Gen AI. And so the first place that people usually end up are AI-powered assistants: ChatGPT, Anthropic Cloud, Llama, Mistral, et cetera, et cetera. And so just in that area, there's a lot to do just with prompt engineering, right? You could do a lot and never, ever learn how to programmatically work with LLMs. And so that's like level 100. Even my mom would want to use that, right? And so I almost feel like I could do 6 weeks just on that. Then there is the next step. There's managed services. You know how to program, but you don't know how to work with, let's say, Hugging Face or Python or PyTorch. If you get conflicts, you just give up, right? You don't want to download a model. You just want to be able to work with models. So one step there. And so that would be something like Amazon Bedrock, Gemini, or working with Cohere's API. And so I feel like that's a level in its own, and that could be over 6 weeks. And then there's the more top level, which is like next level, which is like, okay, I'm comfortable with code, right? I can work with Python. I can work with Hugging Face. I can download a model. I have CPUs and GPUs in my house that I want to utilize. And I want to have more flexibility in my models. I don't just want to be using these stock built ones, and I'm worried about security, and I'm worried about all these other things that come with if you use a proprietary service, like if I use ChatGPT and I'm used to it in my workflow and I forget how to program, now I'm stuck if they jack up the prices. I'd rather have something I have more flexibility with. So that's another level. And then there's a level beyond that, which is like, I got to deploy this for enterprise, right? I got to know like how do I right size my workload and what would it look like at scale? Like, do I need AI inference for that, like an AI accelerator, and like what's the concurrency and what's the deployment model look like, and et cetera, and what's my technical path from startup to full size? And so it'd be nice to teach all those 4 levels, and you could do that over 6 weeks. But the thing is that it'll be challenging because I also just want to build apps and have this little ecosystem. So I'm gonna have to figure out a way to do it, and it's probably gonna be messy. But if it's all there, then I think that's what matters. And if we have a lot of people on the same thing, it's going to make it very, like the road will be very well traveled for everyone else to follow.
Awesome. Yeah, that was sounds like it'll be a very fun boot camp. So I might have to try to join myself. That does kind of lead me to another question I had. So based on what you've learned so far and what you've gone to putting in to this boot camp, what do you think? I'm curious to get your input on what you think will actually be the outcome of this from a business perspective. Like, how are people actually going to use these LLMs? Like, do you feel like there will be a lot of businesses just using the off-the-shelf ones, or do you think they'll actually put in the effort to build their own? And is there a specific reason why you think they would do one or the other?
One thing I want people to realize is that you don't have to stick with managed services. They're great, but I just want people to not fear being able to work with models directly, because if you have you're going to be hearing a lot more about them. You go to your staples, you're going to see this everywhere. AI PC, right? And you can have like a decent AI PC that's just on your network. That's not necessarily used as a Windows station, but more just people use it as inference. But you could work it into your business, right? Like just not even online, but just in your office, because you could be making prompt documents and leveraging other things to improve just your workflow. You don't have to go use Microsoft Copilot or Google Workspaces, Gemini, and you're going to get a lot more flexibility and control. And that's something that I think that I'd like people to get out of it. So that's probably one of the bigger things, is just not feeling that you have to use the cloud for it, even though I'm the cloud person. That there's other options there, and I think edge is going to be a big deal. So I just want people to get more comfortable with the edge. Yeah.
When we say edge, you mean like edge computing, like this AI PC idea of being able to offload work?
So it's weird because like I'm saying edge, but it just means like on premise. I'm basically saying like on premise, but when you like look from the cloud perspective, it's like, because I guess if you say edge, then it can be a managed service that is in-house as well. And I haven't seen a lot of solutions like that, but sometimes I just use the word edge as on premise. I don't know why. I guess you're not supposed to, but I do.
I think that's an accurate way to use the term. That's how I typically use it as well.
So do you think actually, so there's technical challenges with, and we've run into them ourselves when we were messing around with it, with like, essentially, downloading your own model, for example. Even that part of it can be difficult just to do technically. And also, of course, making sure that you have, a graphics card or something that's able to do it. As part of the boot camp, I mean, is that something that you're going to want to try to solve, for the students, or is that a bridge too far that it's just not going to be part of it?
No, it's going to be part of it, but I have to make sure that we make things, people that can't have any spend, like how can they do it for free? That's one layer. There's the other layer, which is like, I have some spend, or I have, cloud. How can I do cloud? But I just don't have the hardware, right? And then the other one is like, I have the hardware, but it's not the best. Like it's like, it can do it, but maybe just on CPUs. And then there's the person like, I have my gaming computer, or I was trying to do like crypto mining, but now I guess I can utilize this for work for Gen AI. We can do that. So we kind of have like those 4 levels. And, I want to try to satisfy all 4 as best I can. But that's going to be a hard thing because there's just going to be things that people can't participate in because there's that hard restriction. But, but at least we can get them exposure to it. Yeah, I mean, it's just, it is what it is, right? Like, I can only do my best to try to support all levels, but that's another challenge. Is like I need to make badges, and so when we did the AWS Cloud Project Bootcamp, the Terraform one was just a single badge because it was smaller in scope. But the AWS Cloud Project Bootcamp had 4 badge levels, and the idea was that the farther and harder you pushed and the effort you showed, the more likely you could get that Red Squad badge, which was subject to me to issue. The other ones are extremely well defined, but the other ones were, the last one there was like push, 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 push. And so here I have to kind of figure out how the grading would work, the badge would work when, not everyone can work across all those 4 things. And we have those, so we have like 4 different levels of learning, 4 different levels of maybe we could say deployment or platform. These terms aren't defined, right? Like I'm making my Gen AI roadmap and I'm trying to like, okay, how do I, because there's no generic cert on Gen AI. There's not. Like AWS has, I made AWS's one, I made the Azure one, I'm doing the Intel, the NVIDIA one right now. Google doesn't have one for some crazy reason. And so, they don't define the stuff very well, right? And even you think AWS would like leverage what the terms of knowledge cloud practitioner to bridge it over. They don't. And so, I think that we really do need like a generic cert. And as a byproduct, before I even start this bootcamp, I'm going to finish that production. And that's the prereq for the course so that people, will have a grasp of what they're looking at before we start building the project. Because like you can't learn any of these certs that exist now. And it's like, you'll be so deficit in so many areas, more so than previous cloud certifications.
Yeah, I actually just started yesterday your AWS certified AI practitioner bootcamp on YouTube yesterday, and so far so good. I'm still very early in there, but good job so far. But I do notice that at the beginning you kind of start with this sliding scale of how long it's probably going to take someone to study. If you're very skilled in the technology realm, it's probably going to take you a little bit less time to grasp some of the concepts and things like that. Do you feel like this is kind of in the same category? Like if you're strong with technology, you're probably going to do better in certain capacity, or are you really trying to? I know you're trying to teach all kind of grade levels kind of thing, but do you think that disparity is still going to exist?
Yeah, because the thing is that unless you have a machine learning background and a data background, that stuff is still key, right? And then you still have DevOps thrown in there. Like if you already have DevOps and you've done ML ops, you're going to have an easy time over there. And you have the Cloud Foundation is going to help a bit, but really it's just like you have a very specialized version of machine learning and working with data for these particular type of models. So unfortunately that disparity is there. And then it's like, then you have this hardware layer. And so like some people don't come from a hardware world, especially in cloud. People have never, they've never worked with CUDA. They've never, they don't even know what CPUs they're utilizing unless they've worked for a larger enterprise. And even then they just know it as the SKU, right? They're like, oh, the SKU has this. And, and so, there's going to be, depending on where you are, there's going to be challenges, right? So, or even your developer, it's like even I'm using like Python and Pandas and all these tools, and they're just in PyTorch, and they're throwing all these errors constantly. If you don't get the versions exactly right, it's even more so difficult than regular programming. You can get through it, but it's I guess like learning Japanese. It's like 3 different language like character systems, you know what I mean? And the verb comes at the end, so it's a good pairing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But you can do it, right?
Yep, that's it. It depends on how bad you want it, right? And actually, that brings me to what do you think that? And this has nothing to really do with the boot camp. I guess it kind of does, but it doesn't really because it's not like the presence or absence of the bootcamp has anything really to do with this. Do you think that we're going to see, or maybe we're already seeing, like a gold rush for, AI certification, AI learning, AI careers, like we saw for
I
cybersecurity?
hope so, because I'm making certs. But you know what? Like I put out the Azure AI one, and like it did okay, but it wasn't like people were running at it. And I put out the AWS AI one, and people are picking it up more so than the Azure one. So, and you know what? Like I'm one of the few persons that have NVIDIA and Intel practice exams and making courses for those. And we're not seeing them fly off the shelf, but it's just, it really, like, certifications are really driven by not just like the demand, but also how it's packaged and the authority that's pushing it out. And like the way people are using AI, like, is not the way that people like AWS and Azure want you to use it, right? They're like, how do I download it? How do I, all these other things that I'm talking about. So, I'm thinking maybe if I pull it off and I make the right kind of content, it could work, and so then maybe I'd see the demand. But at this point right now, the certs that I've been covering, it's kind of like, I thought it would be more,
Like, yeah, that's kind of what I mean, though, right? Like, because with cybersecurity, I mean, it was and still is pretty fast tech growing field. Certs or no certs, just the field itself, if you will, has been extremely popular. It's been growing very fast for a long time. I don't know, it might have reached its peak already. It's hard to tell with these things, right? Do you think that Gen AI will, for one, stick around long enough, but for second, just be diverse enough as a tech to invite that same kind of gold rush to, like, get people involved, running for it as a career?
When we talk to technologists and people in tech, why do they want to learn Gen AI? Do you think there's, because like when everything was data driven, right? Everyone's like, oh, you can make good money being a data scientist. I got to become a data scientist. That's a lot of good money. Oh, you can make good money being a comp sci person, or not comp sci, a cybersecurity person. I got to go make good money. That no one's saying that about Gen AI. They're going, oh, I hope I don't lose my job to Gen AI. I better learn it and figure out what's going on with this thing, because I have no idea I'm going to lose my job or not, right? Like that's how they're thinking. And that's like the number one tag that I'm going to have in the Gen AI Bootcamp is like, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know so you don't lose your job. Like, so because that's people's biggest fear. Now, it's not to say that the tools are not useful. Like, there definitely are. They're great in your tool belt, but the mindset is different. It's not, people aren't running to it like Web3. Web3 is like, oh, I can make a bunch of money because it's all about money, right? But the conversation is different. So,
Yeah, I think that's kind of the difficult part about it. And, when I think about that, it's hard to really, like, Gen AI is such a broad topic that can fit, like cybersecurity. I feel like it at least has a certain bucket that it fits into, right? You know what it's addressing. It can kind of, expand into other facets a little bit here and there, but it's relatively well defined. Whereas Gen AI, it's like there's a bit of Gen AI that can put in every single vertical. It can address so many different use cases. It's not just technology specific, right? So it's kind of, I think it's harder to define, what the boundaries are and how malleable this thing needs to be. I guess I'd be curious from your perspective, like when someone wants to learn it, do you think it's going to be best to just like figure out a use case, try to solve a problem, and use Gen AI to do it? Or do you really want to go back and learn the bits and pieces that go into it beforehand? What do you think is the better method?
Well, I mean, the method I've been using is I've been doing both, right? So like I've been building things. That was my motivator to do it. And as I was building things, I would collect each thing, go, oh, what's this? And I would unfurl it, right? And I would go back and make that Gen AI roadmap, which will turn the Gen AI Essentials course. So the point is that if I make the Gen AI Essentials course, and people do that up front, because that's kind of more like what people are used to doing. And I'm not saying it's the best way to do it, but people want to go, oh, give me the foundational knowledge and then I'll build a project, right? So, that's more just speaking to how people want to learn, but that's not the way that I learn. It's building things and then pulling each part out and then expanding on them, right? So, I think that's what's going to happen. In terms of boundaries, like now that I'm in it, like when I started, I was like, where are the boundaries? I can't feel them, right? And I think it's because like every other day you see something on Twitter like Gen AI, look at what it can do now, and it's like it's so fuzzy about what it's describing.
True.
But now that I'm in it, like I can draw the lines of where it starts and where it ends, and I just see again that the Gen AI stuff that we're seeing online is, it's that pump up the VC investor money and get everyone excited, and I'm not sure if it's intentionally being obscure, but it's just like people don't know what they don't know, right? And we just keep seeing more of it. Mm-hmm.
You're like Neo, like you can see the Matrix now, so to say.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can see Gen AI. I didn't know that was going to be the thing that I was going to be really like. I don't know. Like to me, it's just like this is a like I teach everything, right? So to me, again, it's just a tool. It's like if I was teaching DevOps or serverless or security or whatever. But people feel that it's very like it's overreaching like cloud, right? But now that I'm in, I just feels like another tool in my tool belt. And I think the more we get people through it, that's how they're going to feel about it too.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Maybe one of the biggest services that learning about Gen AI can do for anybody is helping them find those lines, so they can understand that like not only can Gen AI not take my job, but actually that it has a very rigid structure and it has a very specific application, if you will. Like just kind of once you see something and wrap your hands around it, you kind of understand its limitations better, like you were saying. So,
and I think there's just like a lot of like mind-blowing experiences when you first use it, because you go, oh my goodness, it can do this, and now everything's different. But then when you start using it, you go, oh, here's all the cracks. Do you know what I mean? Like I was using Vercel V0 it actually worked really well, like to build up the that marketing site for. Apparently, before I do the bootcamp, I'm doing multi-city all-day training in Gen AI. I don't know why I'm doing this. And anyway, so I built the marketing website in V0, and I built it in an hour. And I was like, oh, this would normally take me 2 days to do. And I was like, I guess I don't need to write HTML, CSS by hand, because like I was using things I don't normally like. I don't like Tailwind. I don't like React, but I know how to use them. But and I used something new called ShadCN, and it worked. And it was like, oh, I just need to generally know, based on like having deep skills, being able to work with it and having confident that I liked what it was generating. And so for that first one, I was like, wow, that was great. When I started building the second one, I started writing by hand, because I was like, oh, I'm not doing exactly what I want. And basically I filled the gaps on the stuff I didn't like about React, like that I forgot about React and ShadCN and Tailwind CSS. So you always get that aha moment, but then you're back to tweaking things by hand, and then you forget like, oh right, I was using Gen AI, and I'm like, why am I not using it? I'm writing everything by hand again. But you get to a point of efficiency where you're just like, oh, I guess I should kind of use it, but then you're forcing it into your workflow. So I guess it just gets you unblocked a lot. Like that's kind of how I feel like it, but it's not the tool I'm using like end to end.
No, that makes a lot of sense, actually. And I think that ultimately when the smoke clears and all the VC money is spent one way or the other, for good or for bad.
I'm trying to get as much as I can right now.
Soak it up, man. Soak it up. I think that's what we'll end up with, something more reasonable, is something probably like that, like what you're talking about, right? Tooling, better tooling, more tooling to help people do their job, not replace it. We need to start wrapping up, but I would love for you to, first of all, give us a little bit more details about the in-person thing you're doing, and then plug any of your AI courses as well, so we can make sure we get them in the show notes, and just tell us about it. And then we'll wrap up here.
Okay, yeah. So apparently, I'm at least going to Toronto to do a full day training event, and I'm looking to expand it to multiple cities. So next cities is Montreal, Waterloo, Ottawa. And again, it depends on the support from AWS and another very nice sponsor. But I might be going to the States. I might be going all over the place: San Francisco, New York, Jacksonville. I can't say the name of it, but it starts with an R.
Oh, Raleigh? You talk about Raleigh?
Raleigh.
Dude, if you come to Raleigh, I'm in Raleigh, so let me know if you show up.
Raleigh.
I'm in Raleigh, so if you make it out here, let me know.
I just got to put it on the list. And so, like I'm trying to go do these events here and bring the training just because I've always wanted to do in-person training multi-city, but I had to do the right topic to get the sponsors or the support to do it. But I don't care. I still want to just go and teach and help the community. So, I might be coming to a city near you, at least and so I want to get like it's like you get like a map, and then it's like you got the big bobblehead, and they're like going around to the next town. I want to get that graphic going there, but right now just a couple cities, and if it does really well, then it's definitely going to expand, and that might go on for the next year. So let's see if that roadshow happens.
Awesome. And then, of course, we'll get all this in the show notes, but your site is exampro.co, right? That's
right. Well, you know what? .ca works too, but we never tell anyone that. It would probably make more sense to say
being
.ca,
Canadian,
exampro.ca, but exampro.co sounds better. Just don't go to exampro.com because I don't know if anyone's got that.
Made that mistake yesterday.
Chris,
so,
oh yeah? You thought I was into something else, eh? No, seriously, if you go to .com, it's really interesting. I'm
not going. I'll take your word for it.
It's not that it's not safe for work, but it's just like, oh, okay. And then there's exampro.co.uk, which is not us. We get their emails all the time.
Nice.
And we're .co, and we have .ca, but we don't tell people that.
Awesome. Okay. Well, definitely let us know more about the bootcamp. Oh, timing. Sorry, timing. I meant to ask you. You've announced the time for the Gen AI Bootcamp, right? Like,
you know what? I'm going to announce it right here.
Oh, I thought you already had. You don't have to.
No. This is an exclusive. You're getting an exclusive of when it's going to drop. It's dropping. It's starting the third week of January. What is that? January. So I said middle of January, 2025. Is that the next year? So if it's that, then I would imagine that it's dropping January 17th. Could have done it on the 10th, but I was just like, I'll give myself an extra week just in case. So January 17th is the start date for the boot camp. So hopefully everybody is excited for that.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Apparently I'm doing a boot camp right now. I don't know if anyone knows. I'm doing like a small mini camp.
No, I didn't know that.
And for GitOps or something, but yeah.
Very cool. All right. Well, make sure that gets in the show notes as well. And people can follow you on Twitter. Is that what is your favorite way for people to get in touch with you?
A postcard. I want people to send me postcards. I'm going to plug it right now. Give me a second. I got the address. Hold on. So yeah, if anybody wants to get a hold of me or connect with us, send me a postcard, care of Exampro Training Inc. to 710 Winnipeg Street, PO Box 400, Scarborough, Ontario, Canada, P0T2S0. That's P0T2S0. Looking forward to getting your postcards, and maybe if I get a postcard, someone might get something special back.
All right, that's what I like to hear.
Well, this is the first time we've endorsed snail mail on the pod, so I'm
this is a new one for us.
Well, I call it edge mail.
Edge mail, I love it.
Yeah. I'll get some edge mail here.
New term, nice.
I love it. Edge mail. Okay. All right. So we're going to wrap up for tonight. Once again, thanks for coming on the show, Andrew. It was great to talk to you. And if you liked what you heard and or saw this evening, make sure you follow everybody involved on all socials. Make sure you send this guy a postcard, several if you can afford it. And, buy our cereal, do all that good stuff. And we'll see you next time.
Hi everyone, it's Chris, and this has been the Cables to Clouds podcast. Thanks for tuning in today. If you enjoyed our show, please subscribe to us in your favorite podcatcher, as well as subscribe and turn on notifications for our YouTube channel to be notified of all our new episodes. Follow us on socials at Cables to Clouds. You can also visit our website for all of the show notes at cablestoclouds.com. Thanks again for listening, and see you next time.